A 14-year-old arrested and a 7-year-old dead following a hit and run. Katniss ULEZ mum says her soul is aching after her daughter was hit and killed by a motorbike, leaving a community in shock.
It's just horrific, and you can't fathom the pain and just what everybody's going through, really. We've all got young kids, everybody up here, and it's horrible.
Tonight we'll be live in Walsall as police plead to whoever's hidden the bike that struck Katniss to hand it over. Also on the programme, a crisis that could become a catastrophe. The warning about the UK's seabirds as avian flu ravages the population. Yorkshire Cricket Club's fined £400,000 and gets points deducted over the Azim Rafiq racism scandal. And
it's Lauren James! Oh!
The moment of magic that pushed England ever closer to qualifying for knockout stages of the World Cup.
It was a dream, and at the moment it's a bit surreal.
This is the ITV Evening News with Charlene White.
Good evening. The mother of a 7-year-old girl who was killed in a hit-and-run crash involving a motorcycle has paid a heartbreaking tribute to her daughter. Katniss ULEZ was struck as she played outside her home in Walsall last night. Neighbours desperately tried to save her, but she died later in hospital from her injuries. Her mother says her soul is aching and described how Katniss's father pleaded with her to open her eyes as she lay dying. A 14-year-old boy is being held by police over her death. We'll have the latest from the scene in just a moment, but first, here's Neil Connery.
Katniss ULEZ was playing on her scooter outside her home yesterday evening when she was hit and killed by a motorcycle which sped off. She was 7 and enjoying the school holidays. Today, her family paid their respects. Her mother, Svetlana, overwhelmed by the tributes. She'd run from home after the crash to see neighbours and paramedics trying to save her daughter. The community supporting them spoke of their shock.
I live literally just up the road and my daughter's 8, and we were out yesterday, and you couldn't think of anything more horrific, really. It's really shook everybody up.
It's just horrendous. It's just the worst thing, isn't it?
Svetlana wrote today, "God took her away too young and fragile. I don't have strength and I don't want to say goodbye to you, my star. How to let you go. My heart is bleeding. My soul is aching. May your path be bright so you are not afraid in the dark without mum and dad."
See, the first thing is you think of the family, you think of the child's friends, and it's so tragic.
West Midlands police have arrested a 14-year-old boy on suspicion of causing death by dangerous driving. They're appealing for help in finding the motorbike. Officers sealed off an area nearby in connection with the investigation. As more flowers and messages are left at the scene in memory of Katniss, one card read, "Rest in peace, beautiful girl." Neil Connery, ITV News.
Well, our Midlands correspondent Ben Chapman is in Walsall for us tonight. And Ben, this has come as an enormous shock to people living there, hasn't it?
Very much so, and people continue this evening to gather here to look at the flowers, to look at the balloons that have been left, and to think about this 7-year-old girl who was simply out riding her scooter here around this time yesterday and was killed. This is a quiet housing estate next to a park. Round the corner from here, children continue to play out in the street this evening. But here today, people have also spoken about the problem of youths riding motorbikes round here. The policing commander for Walsall said that they are seeing more and more of them being ridden illegally or in an antisocial manner, and he appealed to adults today to stop giving them to their children. He said they bear responsibility for the potential consequences and it needs to stop, he said. He also believes that someone has deliberately prevented police from being able to find the motorbike that was involved in the collision here last night. He's appealed to the community to help them track it down as officers continue to question the 14-year-old boy arrested last night.
OK, Ben, thanks very much for that. The Mayor of London's plan to extend an ultra-low emission zone across the capital has been given the green light by High Court judges. 5 Conservative councils spent £1 million challenging the scheme, which will widen the area where owners of the most polluting vehicles face a daily charge. The policy was blamed for Labour failing to win last week's Uxbridge and South Ruislip by-election. Well, of course, those councils did challenge it. Well, let's take a look.
Get card out! Get card out!
It's a controversial policy, to say the least, and protesters today were making it clear how unhappy they are as the courts rejected a challenge from 5 Tory-led councils to stop the expansion of London's ultra-low emission zone.
We do not want ULEZ. It's an undemocratic imposition.
More people will now have to pay £12.50 to drive non-compliant cars around London in an attempt to reduce pollution and improve air quality. It's already had a huge impact on handyman Kane Lever, who's decided with his family to move out of the city altogether. How stressful has it been? Obviously.
Massively stressful. Pulling my hair out, stressful. I mean, blood pressure stressful. I can't trade in this area because of ULEZ. It is as simple as that. If I can't trade, the kids don't get fed. £12.50 a day is an absolute ridiculous charge, and it's a killer to businesses.
65.
ULEZ was the main talking point in the Uxbridge by-election last week, which Labour narrowly lost, and it's caused a split at the top of the party between the London Mayor and the national leadership.
This is not about using clean air as a political football. This is about bringing in policies that will support Londoners, make the transition towards a city where our air doesn't lead to around 4,000 premature deaths a year. Children having stunted lungs, adults with a whole host of health issues.
Keir Starmer has set out concerns about particularly the impact on cost of living and asked the Mayor of London to look at this again.
Here in Thamesmead, the expansion will see residents inside the ULEZ zone for the first time, and most are far from happy about it.
If someone's prepared to pay £12.50, they will still pollute the atmosphere. So, as far as I'm concerned, it's a tax.
Do you think it will change the way you vote? Would you vote for a party that doesn't support ULEZ?
More likely, yeah.
But election experts say policies like ULEZ don't need to be so unpopular.
Really, I think the lesson Labour should be taking and any political party should be taking is how to do these things well. How to make sure that they meet people's concerns for environmental protection, for clean air, for climate change mitigation measures, but doing it in a fair, well-communicated and supportive way, particularly in a time of a cost of living crisis.
With the general election looming, keeping voters on side will be key for Labour as they look to steer themselves towards Downing Street. Chihab Khan, ITV News, Westminster.